of the material world, it systematically creates, maintains, and destroys. And this starts off initially with Mahavishnu. It's explained that when Mahavishnu, he breathes out, that's when immediately all the universes are immediately created, unlimited universes. They start sprouting out from the pores of his transcendental body. And initially they're very, very tiny and atomic, and then they increase in size. And then these unlimited universes, Prabhupada explains that they float on top of the Karana ocean, the causal ocean, just like soccer balls floating on water, Prabhupada explains. In another instance, Prabhupada was with his disciple Harishori Prabhu, who was Prabhupada's personal servant for many years. And Harishori Prabhu, he was serving Prabhupada some fruits, and there was a pomegranate, and the pomegranate was cut in half. And for all of us, we've seen pomegranates. It's full of these nice red seeds, all clumped together very tightly in a bowl. And Prabhupada explains that this is how all the universes in Karana ocean are situated. They're all very tightly packed together on the Karana ocean. Just like soccer balls, they're floating. So that's the initial creation that happens by Mahavishnu. He breathes out, and as soon as he breathes out, immediately unlimited universes are created. Then he enters into each universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And then Lord Brahma is born as the first living entity from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And it's mentioned Lord Brahma's lifespan is, every day of Brahma is 1,000 Divya Yugas. And each Yuga cycle is 4.32 million years. So one day of Brahma is 4.32 billion years. So that's 12 hours of Brahma. So Brahma's one full 24 hours is 8.6 billion years. So if you times that by his whole lifespan, it comes to something like 3.11 trillion years. That's how long Brahma lives for. And that's the lifespan of this particular universe, and that's the lifespan of the universe. So one simply, and that entire duration of Brahma's lifespan, that entire duration of the existence or the manifestation of this universe is simply is less than a second for Mahavishnu. So that's how great and enormous Mahavishnu is. 3.11 trillion years is less than a second for Mahavishnu. Because Mahavishnu, he breathes out, immediately a universe is created, 3.11 trillion years pass, and then he breathes in, then immediately all the universes that he created, immediately they get destroyed, they all come back into his body. So less than a second of Mahavishnu is equal to 3.11 trillion years. So that's how inconceivably great Mahavishnu is. So this will be further explained in the next chapter. And also it's given that not only is Brahma's lifespan so huge, but it's given that all the other residents of Brahma Loka, so Brahma is situated in topmost planetary system, Brahma Loka, so not just Brahma, but all of his consorts, everyone who's living in Brahma's planetary system, they all have a similar lifespan. They all have the same lifespan of 3 trillion years, 3.11 trillion years. And not only that planetary system, but the other 3 planetary systems below. So there's Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka. And in these 3 planetary systems, below Brahma Loka, all great sages, rishis, and yogis live. And even for these 3 planetary systems below Brahma Loka, their lifespan is also the same as Brahma, which means they're just born at the start and they just live out. The entire duration of the mature universe, they're present. And at the end of the manifestation of the universe, when the universe is destroyed, and then either, if some of them are impersonalists, they go merge into Brahman, or for most of them, they would have developed some devotion for Supreme Lord, so either they'll go to Vaikuntha, or they'll go to Goloka Vrindavan. So this is the situation of the top 4 planetary systems. So pretty much everyone in the top 4 planetary systems, their lifespan is the same as the lifespan of the entire universe. So they're there present right from the start till the end. And they're all great sages and yogis. Either they're focusing on the impersonal Brahman or the great devotees of Lord. And at the end of their lifetime, most of them, they go back home, back to Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. But below these top floor planetary systems, in the lower 10 planetary systems, they undergo a cycle of destruction and creation during the lifespan of the universe. So everything, that's what Prabhupada is explaining, everything is happening very systematically and in a cyclic motion. Time works very systematically in a scheduled fashion. So for the lower 10 planetary systems, it's Bhagavatam explains them as to be the three worlds. There's the lower planetary systems, that's considered as one world. Then there's the middle planetary system, that's another world. And then, so the lower planetary system is dubbed as Patala Loka. So the bottom 7 lower planetary systems, which is in the crust of Bhumandala, which is underground, that's considered as Patala Loka. And then our middle planetary system, in which we're situated, that's considered as Bhuloka. And then above us is Swarga Loka. So in Swarga Loka, that's where all the demigods live, all the millions of demigods, they reside above us in Swarga Loka. In Swarga Loka, that's where all the planets that we hear about in physics in high school, like Mars, Jupiter, Venus, so on and so forth. So all these planets, they're situated above us in the Swarga Loka planetary system. The sun, the moon, all of these planets are situated in Swarga Loka. And right at the top of Swarga Loka is Dhruva Loka. So right at the boundary of Swarga Loka, where Swarga Loka ends at the top, that's Dhruva Loka, that's where Dhruva Maharaj resides. And that's actually none other than the residence of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he gives that abode to Dhruva Maharaj. Because Dhruva Maharaj, he had the desire that I want a kingdom which is even greater than Lord Brahma. But Brahma's planetary system is the topmost. He's residing already in the highest planetary system, which is Brahma Loka, so there's nothing greater than that, apart from, obviously, Vishnu's residence. So Vishnu, he gives his own personal residence to Dhruva Maharaj. So that's Dhruva Loka. Now all the different planetary systems, planets like Mars, Jupiter, Venus, the sun, the moon, all of these different planets which are situated in Swarga Loka, they all revolve around Dhruva Loka. So Dhruva Loka is right in the middle, and all the different planetary systems will revolve around Dhruva Loka. So all this devotees are building in Mayapur, in the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. So it's currently under construction, but once it's done, we can see the whole model inside a huge temple. So this was Prabhupada's desire, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he envisioned this also, how in the future there would be a Adbhut Mandir, a very huge, incredible, amazing temple manifested in Mayapur Dham. So that's, their devotees are putting a lot of nice videos on YouTube showing how the whole universe, cosmos is situated according to descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam. So although the first 4 planetary systems, Mahar, Jana, Tapa and Satya Loka, although all of these planetary systems, they don't undergo any destruction, they just continue living out right from the start till the end of the universe, and all the residents there, they live for the same lifespan as Lord Brahma. The lower planetary systems, they undergo partial annihilation. And that happens at the end of every day of Brahma. So whenever Brahma's day is finished and Brahma sleeps, then these 3 lokas, Patala Loka, Bhu Loka, and Swarga Loka, all of these 3, they get annihilated. The waters of devastation come and they completely destroy all of these planetary systems. And further description of that is given in the next chapter. So when we come to the next chapter, chapter 11, calculation of time from the atom, Maitra Rishi will give detailed descriptions of how the annihilation happens at the end of every day of Brahma. So at the end of every day of Brahma, this thing happens again and again. So Brahma goes to sleep and he wakes up, whatever he has created, or most of whatever is created is destroyed. Then again he has to recreate everything right from scratch. So apart from the top 4, everything else gets annihilated. And then Brahma has to recreate when he wakes up in the morning. Then again, the activities go on, then again Brahma goes to sleep, and again all the bottom 10 planetary systems, Patala Loka, Bhuloka, Sarga Loka, all of them may get destroyed. Then again Brahma has to create. So this happens at the end of every night of Brahma and start of every day of Brahma. So this happens again cyclically, again and again. Now during the daytime of Brahma, there is 1,000 Divya Yugas. And in these 1000 Divya Yugas, there are 14 Manus. And each Manu is considered as the father of mankind. And Prabhupada explained that's where the word man or Manusha comes from. So Manu is the original human being, you can say, from whom the universe is populated. So in one day of Brahma, there is 14 Manus, and there's 1000 Divya Yugas. So if you divide 1000 by 14, you get 71 or 72 Divya Yugas. So each Manu, he rules for about 71 Divya Yugas. So again, this is all, as Prabhupada is explaining, there's a systematic schedule how everything is situated in the universe. And so one Manu, initially there will be one Manu, and for example, we hear the first Manu in the day of Brahma is Swayambhu Manu, and our current Manu is Vaivasvata Manu. So at the start, a particular Manu comes, he rules for a certain period of time, then he leaves, then another Manu comes. And each period which a Manu rules, that's called as Manvantara. So a particular period which the particular Manu rules, which is 71 Divya Yugas, that's termed as Manvantara. So there is 14 Manus and 14 Manvantaras in one day of Brahma. Now in every period, or in every Manvantara, not only is the Manu changed, but also the demigods are also changed. And also the Sapta Rishis, the 7 great Rishis, which are also situated in Swarga Loka, just below Dhruva Loka, they also change. So at the end of every Manvantara, a Manu changes, and also the demigods also change. The principal demigods, they change. For example, Indra, Surya, Chandra, all of these great Agni, Vayu, all of these great demigods who are very responsible poets, they change. And that's why we'll see in 8th canto, when Lord Vamanadev is benedicting Bali Maharaj, Lord Vamanadev tells Bali Maharaj that let Indra be in charge of the heavenly planets, let Indra rule Swarga Loka for this particular Manvantara, but don't worry, in the next Manvantara, after this particular Manvantara is finished, and the change of Manus and demigods happen, in the next Manvantara, I'll make you the king of heaven, I'll make you the Indra, and you'll rule as Indra for another 71 Divya Yugas in the next Manvantara. So in this way, this is one of the benedictions Lord Vamanadev he gives to Bali Maharaj. So the particular person who rules as the king of heaven, or who rules as the king of the sun planet, the moon planet, or who is in charge of the wind or the fire, they change 14 times during a day of Brahma. So there's 14 different personalities, they come and they take the post. And same is given for the Sapta Rishis also. The Sapta Rishis also change. And so, but the other residents of Swarga Loka, like in general we hear that the residents of Swarga Loka, they live for 10,000 years. So that's given in general terms for the other residents. But the principal demigods like Indra, Surya, Chandra, they don't just live for 10,000 years, but they live for 71 Divya Yugas. And each Divya Yuga is 4.32 million years. So each of these principal demigods, not only, they don't live just for a small time of 10,000 years, but they live for 4.32 million years times by 71. But the other general living entities who live in the higher planetary systems, in general it's said they live for 10,000 years, then they burn off whatever good karma they have, then again they fall back down to the middle planetary system. So this is the situation that's happening during the day of Brahma. There's 14 Manus, and at every change of Manu, there's different demigods, there's different Sapta Rishis, and also there's a particular avatar of a Lord, which comes during every Manvantara. So we're hearing recently in the CC classes, and we're currently in a section of CC where Mahaprabhu is explaining to Sanatana Goswami about the different avatars of the Lord. And one of the avatars of the Lord is Manvantara avatars. So in every day of Brahma, there's 14 Manus, and along with the 14 Manus, there are 14 Manvantara avatars. So these are avatars which come and preside during the entire Manvantara. So that's in one day of Brahma, and so you can imagine 14 times Brahma's, how many days he lives for? So he lives for 300, okay, so in 1 year of Brahma, there's 365 days, times 100. Then you times that by 14. So that's how many Manvantara avatars of the Lord, they come on schedule. And like that, there's also Yuga avatars. In 1 day of Brahma, there's 1,000 Divya Yugas, and each Divya Yuga has 4 Yugas. So in 1 day of Brahma, 4,000 Yuga avatars come. So in 1 day of Brahma, there's 14 Manvantara avatars, and in 1 day of Brahma, 4,000 Yuga avatars they come. So again, as Prabhupada explained, all of this is happening systematically according to the desire of Krishna. So if we analyze all this, we'll see how Krishna has arranged a very nice system of how the universe is created, how the universe is maintained. For the maintenance of the universe, Krishna, he establishes different Manus to come and take charge and maintain the universe. Not only the Manus, Krishna establishes that for a particular time period, 71 Divya Yugas, there'll be a particular Manu, there'll be a particular Saptarishis, there'll be particular demigods, principal demigods, and there'll be a particular Manvantara avatar who will all work together to maintain the universe, all the living entities. And Krishna also establishes that in every yuga, he sends a particular yuga avatar to also come and establish the religious principle for that age. So as you know, first comes Satya Yuga. The prescribed duty of Satya Yuga is meditation, then comes Treta Yuga. The means of self-realization is doing fire sacrifice, then comes Dwapara Yuga. The means for self-realization is deity worship, then Kali Yuga. The means of self-realization is Harinam Sankirtan. So Krishna, again, to maintain religious principles, he again sends yuga avatars in every single yuga to establish the religious principles of that particular age. So in this way, very systematically, Krishna has arranged not only the creation of the universe, but also the maintenance of the universe. For the maintenance of the universe, Krishna sends different Manus, demigods, Manvantara avatars, Yuga avatars, and then obviously there's other avatars like Leela avatars, so on and so forth. And all this, Prabhupada is explaining, happens cyclically. All of this systematically happens in the same way, again and again and again and again. So if I read the translation again, it said, this cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future. So Prabhupada, he explains in some of his classes or lectures, morning walks, how if we look around us, and if we see anything working very systematically, if anything has some systematic arrangement to work, then we should understand that it's not happening by chance, it's happening due to the control of some personality. For example, if we go out onto the street, there's traffic lights, and the traffic lights systematically, they become green, yellow, and red. And so it's not happening by chance. There's an engineer, there's some engineers who have designed and built the traffic lights to work in a very systematic way. Same thing, we have our computers, laptops, TVs, and so on and so forth. And all of these different machines we use, they all work systematically. You press the on button, they turn on. You press this button, this happens. You press that button, that happens. So all of these different instruments, all these different things we see all around us, Prabhupada explains, it's all happening systematically, and whenever we see something happening very systematically in an orderly way, then we understand it's not happening by chance. Definitely there's some personality behind it who's designed it to work in a systematic way. In the same way, Prabhupada expands this to explain, if we look all around us in nature, everything is happening systematically. The sun, every day in the morning it comes up, and in the evening it sets. It's not that randomly some days the sun comes up, and then for another 5-6 days the sun doesn't come up, then randomly the sun comes up for 1 day, 2 days, then the sun doesn't come up for another month or 2 months. No, every day the sun comes up, and every day the sun comes down. It happens very systematically. And systematically the seasons come. First currently we're in spring, and then soon next month will come summer. After summer will come autumn. Then after autumn comes winter. So systematic again, the seasons are going in a very systematically cyclic way. The moon and the sun are rising and setting in a very systematic, cyclic way. So in this way, Prabhupada explains, if we look all around us in nature, everything is happening very systematically and in an orderly fashion, which means it's not happening randomly, which means there is a person behind it who's making things happen systematically, who's making things go and come out at a certain point of time. And who is that person behind this? Prabhupada explains, that's Krishna, the Supreme Lord. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dakshana Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam, that under my direction, everything is being maintained, everything is being manifested and destroyed in this universe. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord, by whose potency of time, everything is working, Prabhupada explains. So this is one other lesson we can take from this, Prabhupada explains. From the orderly arrangement of how time works, of how the universe works, of how Mother Nature works, we can understand that it's not just happening by chance, there has to be a personality behind it who's making all this work. And there's one story, I remember Sri Prahlad Prabhu in one Bhagavatam class he was sharing, of Isaac Newton, of how one of Isaac Newton's friends, he was an atheist, and to put some sense in his atheistic friend, what Isaac Newton does is he builds a model of the whole universe, a real-life model in his room, situating all the different planets as balls and using sticks to design the whole universe, how it's situated. So he builds a real-life model of the planetary system, of how the universe is situated, and he invites his friend. Then his atheistic friend comes into the room and he sees this beautiful, amazing model of our entire universe. Then his friend is amazed that, wow, this is such an amazing model. It must have, he immediately asks, who did this? Who made this model? It must have taken him days and days to construct such an amazing model of the universe. So his friend asks him, who made this? Please tell me. And Isaac Newton tells him that actually no one made it. It just happened by chance. I just left my room, I went out. In the morning when I woke up, this whole model was just there. I don't know where it came from, who made it. It just came out of nowhere. It just happened by chance. There's no creator for this. There's no one who made this model. It just came out of thin air, just like that. Then his friends say, hey, come on, stop kidding with me. Stop joking. Tell me who made this. How can this just randomly come about like that? This seems like the hard work of someone. It must have taken this person many, many days to construct this. And this person must have been very intelligent to understand how the planets are situated. And with so much intelligence and hard work, he must have created. How can you say that it just randomly came out of nowhere? How can you say it was just manifested just like that out of thin air, just by chance? Then Isaac Newton, he explains to his friend, if you think that just this small insignificant model can't happen by chance, if you think that this small insignificant model has to have a creator who made this, then what to speak of the real thing? What to speak of the real thing, of the real universe, of the real planets, which are so orderly fashioned and which are so orderly, rotating, revolving, and doing their thing. So then his friend, he gets the point. So this is another powerful example, real life example that Newton, he gives of how, again, the same principle as Prabhupada is explaining. If we look around us, everything is happening very systematically. The way nature, the universe, the planets, the seasons, how everything is working, the sun and the moon, is happening very systematically, orderly fashion. So this means that there is someone behind material nature, there is someone behind time, there is someone behind the universe who is making things work in orderly fashion, and that's Krishna. Krishna, as the Supreme Lord, is making all these different things tick. Another thing, I was just hearing a few analogies in regard to time from one of my lectures from my Guru Maharaj. He was sharing from Bhagavatam, which I thought I'll share just before we finish. Few powerful examples Bhagavatam gives about different characteristics of time. For example, I think this is in the second canto. Bhagavatam explains, just like the clouds in the sky. If you observe very carefully, if you just stare at a cloud in the sky, it will be very slowly moving across the sky. Slowly, it will be drifting across the sky. And Bhagavatam explains, just like the clouds in the sky, they're being moved from one place in the sky to the other end by invisible force. We can't see the wind, we can't see the air, but there's this invisible force of the wind or the air which is making these huge clouds move from one part of the sky to the other. In the same way, time is moving all the different things in this material world. In the same way, time is creating different things, time is maintaining different things. In the same way, time is destroying different things. And just like the air or the wind is very subtle, no one can see or perceive see in real life the wind, pushing the clouds from one place to another, but the wind is in the background very subtly, invisibly, making the clouds move from one part of the sky to another. In the same way, Krishna, through his impersonal manifestation as time, is very subtly in the background, invisibly, making everything happen in this material world. Just like in the Gita, Krishna explains, he says one verse, Matta paratram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjana. How's the next line go? Mayi sarvam idam protram sutre mani gana iva. So again, Krishna explains in Gita that just like on a necklace you have pearls or tulsi beads situated on a necklace, but what are they all situated on? They're all situated on a piece of string. Now we can't see the string is invisible, the string is under the pearls, or the string is under our tulsi beads. But the actual thing which is maintaining all the tulsi beads to come together and form a necklace is the string. But we can't see the string. The string is invisible, it's underneath. So in the same way, Bhagavatam explains that time is working in the background. Everything that's happening in the universe, it's all being done by time. Everything's being manifested, everything's being maintained, destroyed, all by the force of time. But we can't see time. Just like the clouds, they're being moved here and there, but they can't see that invisible force which is moving them. Subtly, time in the background, invisibly, is moving all of us. Another example, practical example, I think in a purport or in a verse, Bhagavatam explains that just like our nails, we can't perceive or see our nails growing. But after a week or two, we just notice, hey, my nails have grown. But we can't physically see our nails growing slowly. Same with our hair. We can't physically see our hair growing. Invisibly, time is making our hair grow. Invisibly, time is making our nails grow. And we can't perceive it. In the same way, our body is becoming, every day, our body becomes older and older. Every day, we get closer and closer to old age, closer and closer to death. But we can't perceive it. Time is acting very subtly. So this is one example Bhagavatam gives. Another example Bhagavatam gives of time is of the ocean. Just like in the ocean, Bhagavatam explains that in the ocean there is unlimited waves. So in the same way, there is unlimited waves of time. And when the waves of the ocean come and they reach the shore, what happens? We see some foam being generated. So the waves will be coming from the ocean, unlimited waves. And then when the waves, they hit the shore of the beach or the coast, then foam gets sprouted. Now what's the duration of the foam? Prabhupada explains this foam being generated by the waves of the ocean just lasts for a few seconds, then immediately disperse. Then immediately another wave comes, then more foam is produced, and immediately disperses. So the lifespan of this foam being generated by the waves of the ocean is very small, is very insignificant. And every second, newer and newer foam is being generated. In the same way, Bhagavatam explains that the waves of time, through the waves of time, different foam is being produced, and this foam is compared to the body which we've got. This form is being compared to the temporary manifestation of a temporary body which we have, the surrounding which we're in, our family, friends, society which we're all under. It's all temporary, it's all very fleeting, just like the foam on the shore of an ocean. So just like the foam being produced by the waves of the ocean at the shore is very temporary, it just lasts for a few seconds, then it goes away. Then immediately new waves come, newer foam is produced, and immediately it gets dispersed. In the same way, life in material existence, Bhagavatam explains, it's very fleeting, it's very temporary, and it just goes just like that in a second. Just for a short period of time, we are present in this particular body, Indian body, American body, Chinese body, so on and so forth. But Bhagavatam explains, all of this is very temporary when you look at it from the eternal time scale. Just for a temporary period of time, we're designated a particular body for a temporary period of time. We think, okay, these are my family, these are my friends, I am Australian, I am from this nation, this is my society, this is my country. But all of this is very temporary, and just like the more waves will come and dispel that foam which is produced, so similarly, the waves of time will come and take away whatever particular body we have at the time of death. Similarly, the waves of time will come, and whatever relations we have with particular friends, family, whatever designations we've made up, that I'm from this society, I'm from this country, all of these will be eradicated by the waves of time. Just like the waves of the ocean, they come and they wipe out the temporary form which is produced, and they produce newer forms. So in the same way, Bhagavatam explains that this body which we have is very temporary, is very fleeting, and we shouldn't take these material designations so seriously. Rather, we should focus on our eternal constitutional position of being Krishna's servant. Everything else is temporary. Everything else is just like the forms of the ocean. Just for a second it's produced, and just like that, newer waves will come and just completely take it away. Another example Bhagavatam gives for time is that of a snake. And this is in reference to death. How just like a mouse will be going on here and there, enjoying life very nicely, eating things here, eating things there. But suddenly out of nowhere, a snake will come and just swallow a mouse, and that's it. The life of the mouse is gone. So in the same way, Bhagavatam explains, this is how time acts. That time is subtly working on all of us, and we don't notice it, just like the wind is moving the clouds, but the clouds, they can't see. What is this invisible force moving me? In the same way, time, very subtly, makes us grow older and older and older, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, at the time when we least expect it, just like a snake, time comes and swallows living entities in this material world. Just like the mouse is enjoying life very nicely, but out of nowhere, the snake comes and just swallows it, and that's it. The mouse's lifespan is finished. In the same way, Bhagavatam explains, time in a similar way comes. We don't know when our death will come, but in the same way, just like a snake, time will come and swallow all the living entities in this material world at the time which they would least expect. But Bhagavatam explains, for a devotee of the Lord, because time is Krishna's energy, or time is Krishna himself. So a devotee of the Lord, understanding this, they utilize every moment of their time in serving Krishna. They utilize every single moment of the time in rendering service to the Supreme Lord. And because they do this, Bhagavatam explains that they are saved from the effects of time. And for them, there won't be birth and death. Prabhupada, he gives the example, just like a cat. A cat, through his mouth, it picks up a rat. But when the rat is picked up by the mouth or the jaws of the cat, the feeling the mouse feels or the rat feels is great fear, because he understands this cat is now going to swallow me and this cat is going to eat me, that's it, my life is finished. So he feels great, incredible fear and pain. But the same cat, using its same jaws and teeth, it picks up its baby kitten also. But the baby kitten, it doesn't feel fear, it doesn't feel afraid or anxiety. Instead, the baby kitten, it feels very comfortable, it feels the love of its mother cat. Why? Because he understands that my mother, out of great affection, is picking me up and taking me from this place to another place. So in the same way, Prabhupada explains that time or death works like that also. For non-devotees, time or death is very scary. It's just like a snake. It will come and swallow them over. Then again they have to be born again, and again they have to go through birth, death, old age and disease. Again they have to go through the sufferings of material existence. But for devotees of the Lord, time is not scary, just like a snake. For devotees of the Lord, just like for the little kitten is not afraid of its mother cat. Even though the mother cat, using its mouth, picks up the baby kitten is not afraid. So in the same way, Prabhupada explains, for devotees, they don't have fear of death, they don't have fear of time, because they understand what's going to happen at the time of death. They understand that because I'm sincerely rendering service to the Lordship, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, whenever the time of death comes, I will go back to the spiritual world and I'll continue my service wherever Krishna is. Either I'll take birth in another planetary system, engage in the service of Krishna, or I'll go to Goloka Vrindara and serve Krishna. For devotees, death is not a concern of fear, Prabhupada explains. So only for non-devotees, Prabhupada explains, death is scary, just like a snake. And so that's how devotees, they overcome birth and death by just engaging in devotional service. Now, what about old age and disease? While we're in this current body, we have to undergo disease and we have to overcome, and we have to undergo old age also. In reference to disease, Narad Muni, he gives one solution of how living entities in this material world can overcome diseases and sickness. So if we fast forward a bit to the 7th canto, 7 cantos divided into 2 parts. The first half talks about the story of Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadev. Then the second part, there is a big conversation between Maharaj Yudhishthira and Narad Muni. So in this conversation between Narad Muni and Maharaj Yudhishthira, Narad Muni, in his instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthira, he gives different spiritual solutions for different material problems. For example, for the problem of sleeping, Narad Muni, he gives the solution: if you want to overcome sleep, then you come to the mode of goodness in terms of your eating. If you eat in the mode of goodness, if at night time you eat nice sattvic food, you don't overeat, you don't passionately eat a huge big feast, then at night time the body won't take up so much energy to digest the food, and that therefore you won't need to sleep so long. You can overcome sleeping so long. So in this way, Narad Muni explains, one can overcome sleep by coming to the mode of goodness in terms of one's eating. Another problem Narad Muni puts forward is that of lamentation. How does one overcome lamentation, depression, so on and so forth? Narad Muni explains, to overcome lamentation, one needs to discuss spiritual philosophy. By discussing spiritual philosophy, contemplating spiritual philosophy, one can overcome all lamentation, all anxieties and depression, so on and so forth. And we see the practical example of this in Bhagavad Gita. At the first chapter, what do we see? We see Arjuna lamenting. We see Arjuna depressed, so much so that his whole body was shaking out of fear. His whole body was shaking out of stress and anxiety. But for the rest of the Gita, what do we see? We see a discussion of spiritual philosophy between Arjuna and Krishna. And then at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? Nasta moha smriti labdha tvat prasadam maya chuta stito asmi gata sandeha karisya vachanam tava. Arjuna says that now that I've heard the spiritual philosophy from you, all my doubts, illusion, all my lamentation is gone. Now I'm ready to fight according to instruction. So in this way, Narad Muni, he gives the solution for depression, lamentation is, you discuss spiritual philosophy. You open up Bhagavatam, you open up Bhagavad Gita, you listen to a lecture, and just by hearing some nice lecture of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, just by reading Gita and Bhagavatam, we can overcome whatever lamentation, stressful situation we're going through in our mind. So in the same way, Narad Muni, he gives a solution to overcome diseases in this particular instructions to Maharaj Yudhishthira. What's the solution? Narad Muni explains, by practicing yoga, pranayama, one can overcome diseases of the body. So although we're all bhakti yogis, we all take shelter of the process of hearing and chanting about Krishna, engaging in deity worship, so on and so forth, still to live a healthy lifestyle, to overcome diseases, sickness, so on and so forth, Narad Muni explains that it's important to do yoga. Narad Muni explains to Maharaj Yudhishthira, it's important to do pranayama. And yoga, obviously, it's all coming from the Shastras, and it helps increase one's lifespan. If one properly does yoga every day, one does some pranayama, it increases his lifespan, and diseases and sicknesses won't affect one. So this is how Narad Muni explains one can overcome disease while he's in the present body. Another angle for this, I was reading one transcript of a lecture by Mahavishnu Maharaj, and he was referring to Ayurveda. And again, on the same topic of how to overcome sickness and diseases, how devotees can be healthy and strong and not get overcome by sicknesses, diseases, and so on and so forth. And Maharaj was mentioning that in Ayurveda, it's explained there is one magic ingredient which is recommended. If you take, you'll always be healthy, you won't get overcome by any sickness. There's one particular thing Ayurveda recommends that everyone should take, and if you take this, you'll always be healthy and strong, and one can overcome many diseases and sickness. And this particular thing Ayurveda recommends is ginger. Maharaj explains, according to Ayurveda. If one takes fresh ginger, or if not fresh ginger, at least dried ginger every day, then this will help one overcome all sicknesses and diseases. So that's another angle Ayurveda gives. Now in terms of old age, how can one overcome old age? I was reading 10th canto of Bhagavatam recently, and Sukadeva Goswami, he gives one very nice example of how the residents of Mathura, they overcame old age. So it's explained in Mathura, just like any city, there's different persons in different age groups. There's young children, there's people in the teenage years, there's persons in the middle age, and then there's elderly persons. And in 10th Canto Bhagavatam, in Mathura Leela section, Sukadeva Goswami explains that the elderly residents of Mathura, although they were elderly in age, they were able to overcome their old age. How? By taking a drink, a particular drink. The devotees, they translate as an elixir. Elixir is like a drink that gives one fresh youth, immortality, so on and so forth, like that. So by taking a particular drink, Sukadeva Goswami explains, the residents of Mathura, the elderly residents of Mathura, they were able to overcome old age. So what is this special drink the residents of Mathura were drinking? It's not some, smoothie or protein shake, so on and so forth. But actually this drink, Sukadeva Goswami explains, that the residents of Mathura was drinking, which made them overcome old age, which invigorated them with youthful energy and vigor, was the liquid beauty of Krishna. It's explained the residents of Mathura, the elderly residents of Mathura, every day they used to constantly drink the nectarian liquid beauty of Krishna's transcendental form through their eyes. Bhagavatam explains that with their cupped palms of their eyes, so you can make a cup out of your palms just like this, and you can drink water with the cup of one's palms. So using the cupped palms of their eyes, the residents of Dwarka and Mathura, they were drinking in the nectarian beauty of Krishna's transcendental form. Constantly it's explained. So Sukadeva Goswami explains, by drinking this transcendental elixir, by drinking this transcendental nectarian drink of Krishna's beauty constantly through their eyes, the elderly residents of Mathura and Dwarka, although they were in their old age, they were invigorated with youthful energy, and they were able to overcome their old age. So in this way, Sukadeva Goswami explains, if we constantly take darshan of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, if we constantly engage in their devotional service, constantly live in them, always thinking about them, rendering service unto them, then even though physically our body might be 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, we won't feel the effects of old age. Because we'll be so absorbed in Krishna consciousness, because we'll be so absorbed in the ecstasy of taking darshan of Gopinath, in the ecstasy of engaging in service, our mind won't go into the material body. And we see that with Srila Prabhupada. At such an elderly age, Prabhupada was able to do so much. At the age of 70 to 80, he did so many, 12 world tours, constantly traveling, with no concept of, jet lag, so on and so forth. And every day in the morning, Prabhupada would walk, do exercise, as we were explaining before. Narad Muni explains that to overcome disease, one needs to do yoga, some kind of exercise or pranayama. And you see, Prabhupada